So the last problem that we'll round out this session with is closer to what I do. So I'm an aircraft maintenance officer, and I am on the CV-22. A little bit of background, the CV-22 is a personnel rescue vehicle, and we will take the aircraft out to the Middle East or wherever we are, and we will rescue or infill any of our special forces personnel in those areas. The CV-22 is very dynamic, so it can be in helicopter mode and land in very austere locations, or it can fly like a normal airplane would and go to other locations. So it's a very dynamic vehicle. But the problem we have here at Kirtland is the environment that we fly in. The sand and the volcanic ash and dust that we ingest in our aircraft cause a great many deal of problems. When it comes to problems such as structural issues, engine problems, components that are failing at a very high rate because of the ingestion of this dust and sand. And the elevation here, being as high as it is, also does not help. Just to go back, the first picture is Hurlburt Air Force Base, and that's in Florida. So obviously they're not going to see the same amount of dust that we do here. The second one, the picture in the middle, is Afghanistan, and that's us here at Kirtland. We've done a soil study before, and the soil profile in parts of the Middle East reflect the same soil profile that we have here. And so it's excellent for training. What we do out here, we train our pilots and our flight engineers sitting in the back of the aircraft to do these missions. So what we have here at Kirtland in New Mexico is fantastic for training. You cannot get that anywhere else, but it is really taking a toll on our aircraft compared to the aircraft in Hurlburt, which is in Florida, and England and Japan, where we have the same CV-22s.
So what these aircraft are doing is when they're landing down into the sand, they're causing what we call a brownout. So we have to do training, our pilots have to do training in these brownout conditions. These pilots are sitting in this brownout condition for 3, 4, 5 minutes because they got to debrief about what they did, what they're gonna do. So they're sitting in, they're just ingesting all this sand. So you can see, like I said, at Herbert Field, not a lot of sand is coming up. So these aircraft can form up to 3 football fields of brownout. So huge problem, especially here with the volcanic ash. And we'll show more pictures here in a minute, but mixed with the hydraulic fluid, oil, gas, you mix that all together with the environment we got here, and it pretty much forms almost cement. So.
And we do that training here to prepare them for the same conditions out in the Middle East. So like Sergeant Chavez was saying, this is extremely important that we do get this training. So to be a little bit more specific in the issues that we're seeing, so like Sergeant Chavez was saying, whenever these fine particles mix with any of the hydraulic oil, the fluid, the fuel that is kind of hanging out inside the internal components and parts of the aircraft, they create these rocks, essentially. It's very hard, and it's hard to clean. So we spend a great many number of hours trying to clean the inside of this aircraft, really to no avail, because they'll just go right back up and ingest just as much. If you take off the panel, you'll see crusting, some places inches thick, because we just can't get to those areas of the aircraft. They're causing structural problems. So I believe, yeah. So this is our flex ring and canted deck area. If you're familiar with a CV-22, it has the ability to take its wings and fold them this way, right? So it folds into, essentially into itself. The ability to do that is awesome because you're able to stow the aircraft and place it in tighter areas. But when you do that movement, it has so much weight. The CV-22 is a very heavy aircraft, and we're talking a lot of weight coming down on this structural area right in the center of the CV-22. Mixing that with essentially the rocks that are forming from this fine particle dust that we've ingested is creating structural problems. So we have seen areas in this canted deck location here where it has worn through the entirety of the aircraft. And you can go inside the cabin and look up and see a hole. from where it has ground down. So that's one structural problem. So another issue that we're having outside of the structural, whenever our components ingest this sort of debris, it causes the components to fail at a much higher rate than they normally would. This is a heat exchanger. What it does is it provides a cooling function to other components. Well, it won't be able to do that if it's ingesting all this debris, the twigs, grass, everything is, as you can see here, caught in this filter. That's supposed to be a cooling function for other highly critical components. So we have gotten to the point where after every flight, we open up these panels and we have to rinse everything out. So we have to convert the aircraft from what we call airplane mode, where the propellers are facing out. We have to make them look into hover mode, which is like a helicopter, and rinse them out. We're spending hours every day cleaning these out. Just this one component. Okay? And then another structural issue is the internal parts of our nacelle, which is the area that houses our engines. Our engines are another problem. We'll get to that in just a second. But we have a great many number of harnesses, electrical harnesses, hydraulic lines, oil lines, fuel lines, all those things in this small, tight space that creates a lot of heat from the engines. And you'll see a lot of those same things gunking up and causing chafing. So because our aircraft, the whole structure of the aircraft moves so much, we see a lot of chafing of the harnesses and hide lines and other structural components in those areas that are wearing down. We have a lot of worn metal, so things that you wouldn't think sand or fine dust could do is doing to our aircraft. And it's really causing us to spend a large number of hours fixing things that other areas or other CV-22 units are not seeing. So, I apologize. Also, going back to engines, not good for engines, right? This is the big thing for us. We call our engines that are installed on each aircraft engine time on wing. That's how we track how long an engine has been installed on a particular aircraft. Here at Kirtland, because our engines are ingesting so much dirt and particles, and with that high heat, it's essentially turning them in the core of the engine into glass almost, and we have a very hard time cleaning that. We do engine and like soap ingestion to clean it out, but it does not get these fine particles because they've already turned into a harder material that will not filter out or will not come out with water. Our engine time on wing, which again, the time a specific engine has been on a particular aircraft is 150 to 180 hours. That might be a lot to you, but compared to the other CV-22 bases in England and Florida and Japan, their engine time on wing is in the thousands. They have engine time on wing for 1,200 to 1,500 hours. That is significantly more than what we are able to do. So the amount of engines that we're changing, and this is a single engine change can take a day and a half to 3 days, depending on what you encounter once you open up those panels. So we never know what we're gonna get when we open up our panels and kind of dig deep into maintenance because of the austere environment that we're flying in. I don't have that data down there, but I just let you know, 150 to 180 hours here at Kirtland, compared to 1,200 to 1,500 in other CV-22 locations. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll just show you a quick video of what a austere landing is on a CV-22. As Sergeant Chavez said, it's a very large area that gets kicked up with dirt, and we do that multiple times every night that we fly. I don't have anything else. We really hope that you can help us come up with a good idea to help alleviate this maintenance burden that we feel while still getting the excellent training that our pilots and backenders need to go out to the war and help save lives. I don't have anything else to do. All right, thank you.
Kill two birds with one stone.